Hello, my name is Álvaro TORRES-CAVERO. I am a student of Computer System Engineering at the Universidad Privada del Norte. In this presentation, I will explain about my research topic, which is the analysis of the impact of e-health technology on health, a review of the scientific literature between the years 2010 to 2020. The presentation is divided into 5 sections: introduction, methodology, results, discussion, and finally conclusions. Currently, the main problems facing the world population is the spread of the current COVID-19 virus, which has put a lot of use on alert and has led our governments to declare a state of emergency in order to prevent the spread of the virus. An important point to take into account is the situation of the health centers after the spread of the virus, which have been restricted to the minimum capacity of people. It is necessary to implement a series of tools that allow the patient to receive remote care and follow-up of this treatment and its evolution. To achieve this, we can make use of health technologies, e-health. The main purpose of applying digital health technology is to provide an alternative to patients so that they can have a diagnosis and treatment quickly and safely. Therefore, the objective of this review of the scientific literature has been to identify the best features to implement a mobile application which can be used to provide care to patients with the COVID-19 virus. Now we continue with the methodology section. The first part concerns to the type of study conducted, for which the type of systematic review of the scientific literature was used, making use of the PRISMA methodology, for which two research questions were posed. The search strategy and the study selection criteria were defined. The research question posed are as follows. Question 1. How does the use of e-health technology impact the care of patients who have tested positive for COVID-19 virus? And question 2. What are the best features to develop an e-health application focused on COVID-19 patient monitoring and treatment? We continue with the search strategy. In order to answer the question posed, search was carried out in different databases, scientific articles such as Scopus, ScienceDirect, Cielo, and ProQuest, from which a total of 81 articles were obtained referring to the research topic, of which only 64 were selected and which meet certain criteria detailed below. Next, we can see the graph of the filtering of articles. A total of 81 articles were collected, after which 2 duplicate articles were discarded. 50 articles that were not related to the research topic were excluded, and finally we were left with 64 articles. In this section, I will explain the table of inclusion and exclusion criteria. For inclusion and exclusion criteria were used for the review in order to answer the question posed above. In this image, we can see the flow diagram of the article search, for which 4 databases were used, these being ScienceDirect, Scopus, ProQuest, and Cielo. From these 81 articles were collected, and then the inclusion and exclusion criteria mentioned above were applied, leaving use with a total of 64 articles. In this section, we enter the result section. As we can see, we have a graph which details the number of articles found on the research topic divided by the years to which each publication corresponds. So we can see that in 2019 and 2020 there were more publications of scientific articles compared to previous years. Here we can see a graph in which we classify the articles by language type, As we can see, we obtained 53 articles in English, equivalent to 84% of the total, and 11 articles in Spanish, equivalent to 16% of the total. In this section, we can observe a table where we will find the articles divided by categories in order to be able to answer our research question posed above. We proceeded to make use of the 64 articles, which were divided into 4 categories. In this section, we can see the graph corresponding to the percentage of articles by research topic, in which we can see that articles on the subject of digital health studies and implementation processes account for 31% of the total number of articles collected, followed by digital health application and platforms with 31%, current impact on patients and physicians with 24%, and finally implementation in medical cases with 14% of the articles collected. In this section, we can see the bar chart corresponding to research on studies and implementation processes of digital health. In the category of studies and processes of digital implementation, we find research that details different ways in which these services are implemented in other countries and what was the process of adaptation to it. The articles reviewed in this category are 11 referring to the implementation of digital health and studies that took place in other countries, and 9 articles referring to studies, implementation and quality in health services, as we can see in the graph. In this section, we can see the graph detailing the research on digital health applications and platforms. The articles reviewed within this category are 6 that refer to research on mobile applications for health, 5 articles referring to mobile applications for different disease or conditions, 3 articles referring to mobile applications focused on COVID-19, 3 articles focused on implementation and research on health platforms, and 3 articles referring to technologies and sensors for health, as we can observe in the present graph. In the table below, which corresponds to articles on digital health applications and platform by subcategories, we can observe the articles referred to the different subcategories. Research and mobile application for health with 6 articles, mobile applications for different disease with 5 articles, mobile applications focused on COVID-19 with 3 articles, implementation and research of health platforms with 3 articles, and technologies and sensors for health with 3 articles. In this section, we can see the graph corresponding to care and impact on patients and physicians. Within the articles collected in the category of care and impact on patients and physicians, 8 articles were obtained detailing the user's experience and opinion of these health technologies, 4 articles related to the impact of care between medical staff and patients, 2 articles on experience with cybersecurity problems, and 1 article referring to the impact on care in clinics, as can be seen in the graph. In this section, we can see the graph corresponding to implementation in medical cases. The articles reviewed within this category are 3 that indicate about treatments performed during the COVID-19 pandemic, 2 articles that indicate the use of portable health devices in different treatments, 3 articles referring to the care of different disease of conditions, and 1 article referring to different conditions in digital health centers, as we can see in the graph. In this section, we enter the discussion section. After conducting the research process, we have been able to verify a large number of studies regarding digital health and COVID-19. Within them, we can see that they are focused on different areas, which are studies and implementation process of digital health, applications and digital health platforms, care and impact on patients and doctors, and implementation in medical cases. Likewise, we verified that 2020 has been the year in which a great number of research articles related to digital health have been carried or compared to previous years. From all this information collected and systematized, we can conclude that 2020 has been the year in which a greater amount of research related to digital health has been developed. Therefore, at the beginning of the article, we ask ourselves two questions, which are the following. Question 1. How does the use of e-health technology influence the care of patients who have tested positive for COVID-19 virus? In the category care and impact on patients and physicians, and in figure 8, the necessary information was gathered on how this digital health technology influences patients, and this is complemented by the section implementation in medical cases belonging to the same table and figure 9, in which we have information on how it has been successfully implemented in specific cases, and likewise that limitations have been encountered in this regard. From the information gathered, the digital care model has been well accepted by the public, to whom this model of care was offered, and large numbers of patients, both adults and young people, had no problems in adapting to the model of care, and thus allowing them to keep track of their medical checkups in a more efficient manner. Question 2. What are the best features to develop an e-health application focused on the follow-up and treatment of patients with COVID-19? Question 2. What are the best features to develop an e-health application focused on the follow-up and treatment of patients with COVID-19? It was found that the development and implementation of a mobile application is the most feasible for these patients who have this COVID-19 virus, which, being very contagious, make it impossible for the patient to go a medical care center, not only because of the risk of contracting another disease, but also of infecting others. Therefore, in Table 3, section application and platforms of digital health, and Figure 8 shows the information corresponding to all the features that have to be implemented in application that allows use to give the correct monitoring and treatment to patients. This can be complemented with the information in Table 3, section studies and implementation processes of digital health, and Figure 6 signs the necessary information on how these technologies and care models have been implemented in other different realities can be found. Finally, we enter the conclusion section. Knowing that this virus makes it totally impossible for patients and doctors to generate correct attention, implementing an application that allows to give this attention that the patient's needs will be very beneficial for many of them, as we currently have many devices easily accessible to the users, with which this application could be complemented, and thus family doctor to keep a rigorous monitoring and see the progress of the patient constantly. Therefore, it is suggested that this study be taken into account for future research science. Thanks to all the information gathered, it could be applied to different diseases, and with the rapid advance of technology, this will be the care of the future that citizens will have. Thank you very much for your attention.